Cheat Code. Hey everyone, welcome to Pickleball Cheat Code, the show for competitive pickleball players looking to level up their game. We focus on advanced strategies for experienced players, stuff only the pros really know. I'm Brodie Smith. I'm a 5.5 level player, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Tanner Tomasi.
What's up, everybody?
Tanner is a 6.0 plus rated player and an APP gold medalist. Today, we're covering everything that you need to know to be a left side player and what it takes to be a left side player. And then at the end of the episode, Tanner and I are going to be chatting our favorite pickleball cities in the US. If we've done anything to improve your game, share the show with your pickleball community. All right, Tanner, let's break it down. We're going to be chatting the details and everything you need to know to be the left side king and what it takes to dominate the left side of a pickleball court. For sake of conversation, I know you're a lefty, but we're going to be assuming you're a righty today because most of our listeners and most people in the world, what's the percentage of lefties out there, by the way? Do you know?
I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, I heard like 7%, but I'm not too sure.
That sounds about right. Okay, well, for sake of statistics, we'll be assuming you are a righty. People often call the left side player the alpha of the court, the most athletic player. And this is why I play the left side and you play the right. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say, yes.
You have no contest for that?
No contest for that.
Yeah, like I said, for sake of the episode, we're going to assume you are righty. So let's get into it. I wanted to dive into that previous statement is not true, by the way, and we'll break into it a little bit more as to why. But what would you say personally from what you've seen out in the courts from your tournaments you're playing? Like, what's the most important skill that a left side player needs to possess?
I think the most important skill a left side player needs to possess is probably like good, kind of like they're like the quarterback of your team, pretty much. I know there's only two of you, but they're pretty much the quarterback in the sense of they kind of dictate and control everything. So if the game is playing fast, it's normally because they're playing fast. If it's slow, it's because they're playing slow. They're the one who hits the majority of the balls and look to set up the points and kind of like they're creative and look to capitalize. Where the other player is more or less kind of just a player that just keeps getting the ball in play and is kind of like a rock. If the left side player doesn't create, generally speaking, not much creation is going to happen. You're just going to be dinking forever. The left sider needs to know when to do speed ups, when they should lob, when they should come over on your side. And that's why it's such a creative, tough role.
So is it fair to say that the left side player has to do more thinking and be more creative? Would you say that?
Yes, I would say that's a fair statement.
And then I think you mentioned like being a leader. That was something I took note of as well going into this episode. I feel like being a leader is really important for that left side role. What are some things that a left side player like has to do in a tournament to be that leader? Are they the ones that are like meant to coach their right side player, or is that the other way around? Is that not necessarily always true that they need to be the coach on the court despite taking more balls? You know what I mean?
I don't think necessarily be the coach because I think like brains is out of it. But I think for like actual like on court gameplay, you have to be like the coach in a sense. In like meaning like during the rally, like you need to be able to take control, dictate like a coach would, and kind of like direct the traffic on what's going on. And the main reason is just because you have your forehand there. And your partner has their backhand. So you're inherently like going to take more balls because you don't want your partner hitting backhands if you have a forehand. So I think that's where that coach role comes in, is like just kind of taking over and like setting the tone in a sense.
Yeah, I feel like, I think it's dictating pace and setting the tone is what it really comes down to. Because like you said, you're taking more balls, you're having that forehand in the middle. It's going to be the one that's going to be closing out points. Yeah. And I feel like a strong forehand is one of the most important things for a left side player. But what's interesting is that you also need, if not a better backhand, like what do you think is more important? Let's save the right side stuff for the next episode. But what do you think is more important for that left side player to have? A good backhand or a good forehand?
I think
because when you're dinking, you need a steady backhand, but then for anything out of the air, or like a speed up, you need that forehand. So it's kind of both. And I go back and forth on that a lot too.
Yeah, I would say they're probably about even, but if I had to choose one, I'd say you want a better backhand, I guess, than forehand, just because you need to be able to like establish dominance cross court to show the opponent that like they can't just dink you to death. If somebody has like a really weak backhand and the left sides are dinking to each other, if you can see like somebody's terrible at thinking with their backhand, they don't need to create. They can just dink it to your backhand. But like if somebody's steady off the backhand, then that's when like you have to start looking to create, lob, speed up, and kind of be tricky.
Yeah, if you don't have a weapon of offense of some sort, and this is what I was lacking when I was playing left side that I've gotten a lot better at, that I'm still working at, is you either need to have a backhand flick out of the air for any ball that comes high left, or I mean that should be a guarantee. I don't have that. I have the tomahawk it, which works sometimes. But if not, you need to be able to do something off the bounce with it. Because if you can't do anything off the bounce with it, or apply any sort of offense, then like you said, you can get dinked to death. Where you can just put a safe ball there every single time. Some people don't have that speed up off the backhand, and then if you're playing against somebody that doesn't have that, it's a safe dink every single time. You could just head a bailout dead dink there every single time. So if you're not applying some sort of offense from that off the bounce shot, it's like you shouldn't be playing the left side necessarily. And that's something that I've really been trying to dial in. And then the other thing I was going to ask is, like, let's say you are playing right side and somebody's on your left. Would you rather have your left side partner be somebody that's going to be slice dinking and never missing a slice dink, just like the most consistent left side slice dink? Or would you rather them have a little bit less success in terms of, their margin of error, but they can roll, they can speed up, and they can apply pressure off the bounce, and they're playing really aggressive?
Yeah, funny enough, that's kind of not a situation I'm going through, but I know like for where I live in Florida here, we have like a crew of guys that all play together. And then we plan on like mixing up and playing the tournaments with each other next year. So I'm trying to figure out like who's the best partner for me. There's three people, obviously, that I really play with. It's Richard Livernice, my Karen partner, Casey Diamond, somebody just in our group we play with like every day, and then Mark Dancourt, somebody in our group who we play with.
Marky Bark Mark, that one?
Yeah, Marky Bark Mark, yeah. So Richard makes a little bit more mistakes, I would say, than everybody, but he has a lot more offense than everybody. So like,
interesting.
Even though he makes mistakes, when he hits the ball, like even if he's hitting a dink, it always will like freeze everybody and make them think like, oh shoot, what's coming? Even if he doesn't, do anything. But like I said, he's a little bit more mistake prone. But then the other two don't make mistakes at all. Like they're super solid. Like I know in transition, they're never going to miss, but they're way more timid to attack. So it's like, what's the happy medium? If somebody that doesn't attack much, then you're just, the opponents are super comfortable, but then it's like, oh, on the flip side, well, it's okay if they don't attack. If we're super solid and the people miss or whatever, or we can stay solid, we can outlast them. So it's a fine line that I'm trying to figure out where we're going to switch up playing tournaments with each other next year. All of us.
Interesting. Yeah. You got some decisions to make then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point though, in terms of applying that pressure, how much pressure you're going to be applying. But I feel like for this example in particular, somebody like Richard, since they've been really grinding at applying that pressure, I feel like it would be fair to say, just in this blanket example, without me knowing the details of the other players, that he would have a higher ceiling moving forward, since he knows how to have more creative shots and apply that pressure, versus some of the other players that you listed might be more consistent. Because my point is, it's harder to add those layers of chaos and aggression. Whereas like somebody like Richard, he can always dial back. It's easier to dial back and play safer moving forward, if that's fair to say.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I think the other two can learn it,
for sure.
And they have it, of course. I just think Richard does it more. But yeah, I think I agree with what you say there. I think the other two are fantastic, but if they add in that layer of the layer of attacks, and they already like don't make mistakes, I feel like they'll just be like unbelievable. Whereas if you like Richard, it's hard to like completely reduce errors. You know what I mean? But obviously if he takes some off, he's going to tend to make less. But if somebody generally doesn't make errors as is, and they start adding in attacks, I feel like they're pretty dangerous. So it's like a happy medium. It goes both ways. Nobody's better than the other,
Yeah, no, it's true. Probably it's all matchup dependent as well.
Yeah.
And then I was joking about this earlier, but I think being athletic and mobile is one of the most important things for a left side player in terms of having that mobility. Just taking a step back here. So being able to flash and cover middle with that forehand for any sort of speed up encounters, if you can find a really strong balance of being able to flash and cover that middle while also making sure that you get any dink that goes behind you or any sort of deep pressure that goes to your backhand. Some people panic with deep pressure at the backhand all the time. And this is something that I expose when I'm playing other left side players is I'll do my inside out roll and they can't handle it. They can't cut off angles. Maybe they're not fast enough to cover middle and outside,
Right.
but you need to have that speed and mobility to move left and right to cover that. So, ensuring that you have that speed, it's so much more important than from what I've seen on the right side from, just players that I go against.
Yeah, I agree. I think the left side player should be more, both people can be more mobile, whatever, but it's just important on the left. You have to be mobile.
It's just more important. Exactly. How often do you see forehand players covering middle with like a forehand flick out of the air? Like how important is that to you in their game to have that?
Very important. I think one of the most common patterns is like if both the right side players are dinking to each other and then they try to bail out to the middle, the left side player can come over and then attack it out of the air with the forehand. And that's real dangerous because then the right side guy feels like he has nowhere to go. So I'd feel like if you play the left, you have to have good attacks out of the air.
Yeah. Let's go back to the baseline. What percentage, I guess it depends on every partnership. What percentage are the left side players taking those thirds? Because I think the left side player needs to have strong thirds in terms of drives and drops. Are they taking, I think in theory, like 60%? Is that accurate of those middle balls that come through? Because otherwise, if it's coming to the right side player's inside foot, it's hard to hit a third from there. So I feel like that's important for the left side player to have for sure.
Yeah, I'd say 60% is fair. The left side guy normally takes the drops out of the middle and slightly on their partner's side. So their partner doesn't have to hit a backhand from back there.
Yeah. So if you're a heavy driver and if you know how to rip the shit out of it, then like that's a key left side aspect to have. And then same with having consistent drops. That's why I love the left is because my drops are one of the best part of my games and being able to have accuracy as well. Like you said, for dictating a match, if you can drop straight every single time and have your partner come and poach accurately and come and take that pressure off. Or if you're, able to drop inside out, which is my favorite thing to do. So I drop cross court all the time, inside out forehand. If you're able to do that consistently and apply that pressure, that gives your partner on the right side that ability to poach, apply that pressure. So making sure that you have that in your bag is very, very, very important too. And then I think just being overly aggressive too. And this is something that I do lack is like when I'm playing mixed, I'm not as good of a player because there's some players on the left side that are just demons out there. The ones that we did an episode on this in terms of being able to create pressure and create chaos. The best left side players a lot of the times are creating just absolute chaos. Like you played against Eric and Max. Like Max is so good at applying a ton of pressure. You don't know what the hell he's going to do when it gets a dead dink and, he's moving around the court like crazy. And same with like Thomas Wilson, for example. Being that chaotic player and moving around is key. Is that something that you see a lot too when you're playing? Is like those players on the left that are just flying?
Yeah, I think like being able to cause the chaos, especially because they have their forehand there, they can run around it. It really makes you kind of think and reconsider what they're going to do. So you have to be really careful with how you dink to them and make sure that you can kind of tame them in, or if they go wild, it's hard to control for sure.
The other important aspect is having the consistency and control to move the dink around. Obviously, this is maybe equally as important as a right side player, but if you're on that left side and you're getting dinks on your backhand, being able to hit those straight on and shovel them forward a lot of the times, because some people only dink cross court every single time. But if you're able to take that off the balance, push down the line sometimes, push middle, and really maneuver that ball, I think that's huge, because some players are just hitting cross court every single time, then it becomes predictable. So making sure you're having the mobility of that ball and maneuverability to move it around as much as you can.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's equal, both sides, but I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah. And then the other thing, I didn't touch on this earlier for baseline, was for thirds and drives. Since you're taking the majority of those two, if you're not hitting those consistent, get off the left side, please. Because if you're not, we talked about percentages before. I feel like if you're not hitting 90% of your drops and 90% of your drives without making errors, I think that's a fair baseline. Obviously, when you're playing top pro, maybe Ben's making 98% of his thirds. I don't know. But you get my point. If you're not hitting those consistently or you're not reliable, that goes back to dictating the match completely. If you're the left side player and you're not doing those your core job of being able to transition in effectively, then get off the court. That's my aggressive, harsh statement that I'll make.
I like it.
Cool. Here's an interesting question for you. Are there any pros that you see today that are left side players right now that you think should be playing the right side instead? Anything that you see off from that regard? Because we've seen a lot of switches in the past year with partners playing one side versus the other. Do you think there's anybody that should be playing that right side?
Ooh, good question. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Maybe just somebody who's more consistent, or somebody who's like less aggressive, more like passive. But I don't want to say any names for sure.
Yeah, that feels like a call out, but I know what you mean. Because I feel like there's some players that could make the switch that haven't done it yet. Because it's hard. Point being, is hard to diagnose, like, for your game, which side you should be on and where you should be at. And I think that's what a lot of players really struggle with.
Right.
I struggled with that for a long time. And it took me, I was a right side player for a long time. Then I realized after, at least a year of playing that I play better than the left and I'm more successful there. But that's just me. I mean, for you being a lefty, I feel like you just went to the right side immediately.
Yeah.
Probably easiest decision of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into the end of the episode, quick question for you, and this is an interesting one, is that if you are currently playing right side most often and you haven't really spent that much time in the left, whether you're playing rec or you're playing in tournaments, what are some key things that player should work on and really start to focus on as they start becoming and working into that left side of the court?
Yeah, if they want to learn the left side coming from the right, I'd say the main thing they should focus on is just really having a good backhand dink, because they're only hitting forehand dinks. So having a really strong backhand dink, and then really just working on like being able to be agile and move when dinking. Like, you can be stationary on the right and hit dinks, but on the left, like, you have to be covering the middle, then out wide, like you were saying earlier. So I think those are really important. And then lastly, I'd say just like playing a bigger role in general. So like when you're practicing games or doing drills, like allow your especially when doing drills, allow like your drill partner to like hit a little over the center line and you still have to cover it. Like, you have to cover and practice covering more court. Whereas like when you practice the right, like, you would never do that. They just kind of hit to your side. But I've seen people on the left, like, since they're playing it, they'll have their partner hit it, like, just so they have to cover more. But I'd say just being agile and being able to get bigger is exactly what you need to start working on, because it's the complete opposite coming from the right.
Yeah. No, that's key. And then, like you said, the consistency on the backhand side is super important. Like, some people try to add the chaos layers right away. It's like, no, let's get the fundamentals down. Let's get to a point where you feel like you can't miss a backhand slice dink, for example, and then transition more into applying that pressure, rolling it a little bit more, applying some speed ups, because you got, like we said earlier, you got to be able to speed up down the line, cross body middle, and then hit a cross body roll. When that ball bounces dead on the left side and you get really low and start to load up, your opponent should have no idea what you're going to do with that next ball on any dead dink. So making sure you're applying that deception and applying fear into your opponents, you got to have that versus just expecting a slice dink every single time. So getting the fundamentals there and covering the middle, I feel like, are very, very, very important. It's a good call out.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Transitioning to end of episode here, let's discuss. I mean, you and I have done a lot of traveling around for tournaments and just recreational stuff for pickleball, which is very lucky for us to be able to do. Let's give maybe your top one or two cities for pickleball that you go to, either for like maybe it's a tournament destination or a place where you're going to go get games in for fun. Maybe it's your hometown. What are your favorite pickleball cities in the US right now?
I think my favorite tournament to go to is definitely Newport Beach, California. That one's my favorite. It's got the beach there. It's nice surfing, pickleball, nice weather. And then I'd say probably the second one, pickleball wise, it's probably the first one, just where I'm at, in Boca Raton in Florida, Delray. They're all next to each other. Boynton Beach, like that little group of three cities all neighboring each other, is probably like the highest level pickleball. Like, literally everybody's here. After this podcast, for instance, if I were to go play, I could guarantee I'd see like a minimum of 5 top PPA players practicing.
If you had to stack the pros in just Florida versus the rest of the United States, who has better pros, do you think? If you had to do a battle, let's say there was a tournament of, like a Ryder Cup style, like top 8 versus their top 8, who would be better?
Ours.
Not even a question.
No, I mean, Ken, Gabe, Federico, Dylan, JW, like everybody's here. There's nobody outside the top 10, I think, here. Alshon, Ignatowicz. If it's like a battle like that, I think the best guys, you know what I mean? Like, and girls too, Anna Lee, Anna Bright. Everybody's here. I don't think there's a chance elsewhere.
It's not fair. That's not fair. That's too much talent.
Right.
For me, I was going to go anywhere SoCal. There's so many good players, and then you have the best weather in the U.S. year round. I don't think that's even a question. It's like constantly 70 degrees. It's 70 degrees. It's perfect pickleball weather. So whether it's in San Clemente, which is one of the best venues for tournaments, and like you said, Newport Beach, the tournament venues are amazing. The people are awesome. I love it. Austin, Texas. I did a month there during my travels this year, and the amount of players there, they're like the amount of 5-0 players just in general, not even necessarily top pros, but 5-0 plus is just crazy. There's such a large group. And then the venues there are amazing. So shout out Austin. And then sneaky pick here, sneaky pull is Charleston, South Carolina. There's some really good players there. It's a smaller pickleball scene, but they have some really good facilities. The players there are awesome. Love that squad there. So super underrated. You got Scarpa, you got Jake Kuzmitter and his brother, and Kevin, Max, Chase. There's a lot of players there. Josh, and then they have, like I said, Crush Yard. They have Collins Park for public play, and then we even have some great ambassadors out there. Shout out Felix. Shout out James. It's a good scene there, so I love it. But next episode, we're breaking down our least favorite cities, so that's going to be good. I'm excited to bring the heat on some cities and do some call outs there. All right. Good stuff, Tanner. We'll see you in the next episode where we're chatting the guide for right side players, but I feel like we broke down the left side pretty good and excited to get things rolling here. Keep it going.
Yep. See ya.
All right. See you, man.